Yep, page 12, like a nightmare. If measured and modeled data represent typical ETO,
it started with an ominous letter that ended up on Mayor Frank Trilla's desk in 2018.
An elevated cancer risk exists for residents.
It was written by a federal public health agency as a warning.
The elevated risk present a public health hazard to these populations. That came out of nowhere.
It's how Trilla discovered the people he represents in Willowbrook, Illinois, were at risk from exposure to a gas known as ETO, ethylene oxide, commonly used at chemical plants and sterilization facilities. The World Health Organization and Environmental Protection Agency have labeled ETO a carcinogen. Still, it was being emitted into the air from the Sterigenics sterilization facility just steps from Trilla's office.
Doesn't get a whole lot closer than that.
But the problem goes far beyond Willowbrook, with communities in at least 36 states potentially impacted by ETO emissions.
The health and safety of these families and their children is at stake.
16 attorneys general wrote the EPA last year, arguing for stricter ETO emissions standards. A bipartisan congressional task force was formed, and on Capitol Hill this past July, lawmakers proposed legislation requiring the EPA to improve monitoring for toxic pollutants like ethylene oxide.
We're looking at the emissions at other facilities around the country, and I know that that is taking place.
But nearly 60 members of Congress have raised questions about whether air quality monitors at ETO facilities even work, with groups like the Union of Concerned Scientists saying too much is left up to industry when it comes to reporting potential hazards.
Where those monitors are and how often they're running, and all of the burden of making sure that data is accurate and gets to the agencies put on industry. So, you have to hold industry accountable.
For now, accountability is being debated in the courts, with hundreds of lawsuits filed against companies operating facilities that emit ETO.
If you're making the profit, it's your job to make sure you're not hurting your neighbors. They're playing Russian roulette with their health and with their lives.
Attorney Sean Collins represents 85 people from Willowbrook. Most of them have cancer, and they blame emissions from the Sterigenics facility. Carol Tufo, who endured 33 rounds of radiation and 8 rounds of chemo for aggressive breast cancer, is one of them.
It just seems common sense that you can't spew poison in the air, especially in a residential community. We're evidence that they don't belong. Look around.
Look around Willowbrook these days, and the 2 Sterigenics facilities are empty, shut down following public outcry. Still, for Mayor Frank Trilla, it doesn't feel over yet.
I'm not going to rest until there's new tenants in the buildings. It's not over till it's over.
I'm Josie Sturman for Spotlight on America.